Have you ever wondered why that man who seemed utterly captivated suddenly went cold? Why was he pursuing you initially, only for the intensity to dissipate like smoke? Why do you feel you're doing everything right, being attentive, available, affectionate, yet he still appears distant and disengaged? Here's the truth that's going to sting. Everything you've been taught about winning a man over is wrong. Profoundly wrong. Most women are unaware of this, but there exists a specific type of feminine behavior that men find dangerously alluring. It's not about being beautiful. It's not about being sensual. It's not about texting at the right time. It's something far more profound. Something that operates on a psychological level so primal that he can't even articulate why he's fixated. Carl Jung, one of the preeminent psychologists of the 20th century, dedicated decades to the study of the unconscious, uncovering something rather unsettling about the male psyche. What Jung discerned regarding the true drivers of male attraction fundamentally challenges conventional wisdom. Here's the problem. You've been conditioned to believe you need to be sweeter, more understanding, more available. That's a lie. In reality, the more you do this, the more you activate something in his subconscious that kills desire. You're not creating attraction. You're cultivating emotional ennui. Jung discovered that there's a part of the male psyche called the anima, the internal image of the feminine that every man carries within. And here's the secret. When a man encounters a woman who mirrors his anima in a specific way, he's utterly captivated. He becomes obsessed. Not because you're trying to please him, but because you're embodying something he didn't even realize he lacked. Something that resonates with a part of him so profound, he cannot articulate it. He simply feels it. But most women do the exact opposite of what activates that part of him. They try to be perfect, controllable, predictable. They hide their shadows, repress their intensity, soften their edges. And in doing so, they become psychologically invisible. He looks at you and sees someone who doesn't challenge him, who doesn't intrigue him, who possesses no mystery. Mystery is not a mere trifle. Mystery is being so complete within yourself that he cannot fully decipher you. Because you are not trying to be deciphered. You are too preoccupied with being who you truly are. Jung discovered that the women men deem dangerously seductive are not the most beautiful. They are the ones who have integrated their own wholeness. They possess their own purpose, authentic boundaries, a rich inner life that is not contingent on his validation. And this cultivates a magnetism that is impossible to fabricate. Because it is not a technique. It is a presence. How many times have you caught yourself wondering, what did I do wrong? Or why doesn't he want me anymore? Have you ever stayed up all night trying to decipher where you lost him? Have you felt that pang in your chest when he takes too long to respond? It's not your fault, but it's not his fault either. It's a psychological dynamic that unfolds without your awareness. And once you comprehend this dynamic, your relationships will never be the same again. Because here's the truth. Men don't want a woman who needs them to feel complete. They want a woman who chooses them, but doesn't need them. They don't want someone who is always available. They want someone whose presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. They don't want performative perfection. They want dangerous authenticity. Dangerous because you cannot be controlled by approval. Dangerous because you have access to your own life force. Dangerous because you are so whole that he realizes he could lose you and you would still be you. This isn't about being cold. It's about you ceasing to betray your authentic self. It's about integrating the parts of you that you were taught to conceal. Your ambition, your unbridled sexuality, your razor-sharp intellect, your emotional intensity. All of it that you've been conditioned to temper because you were told it was too much. But here's the secret Jung discovered. What you conceal out of fear of being too much is precisely what makes you magnetic. And I'm going to show you exactly how to access that. Not through manipulative techniques, but through a process of psychological integration grounded in Carl Jung's most profound concepts of the feminine and masculine psyche and what truly cultivates desire. When you do this, something extraordinary occurs. You stop wondering if he's interested because you're so self-possessed that his presence becomes an enhancement, not a requirement. You cease dissecting every message because you're living your own life so vibrantly that no energy remains for anxiety. And men notice this. They sense you're different, that you're not playing games, that you don't need them. And that is dangerously alluring. In the coming minutes, I will reveal to you precisely what Jung discovered about feminine behavior that leaves men utterly captivated. I will demonstrate why everything you have been taught is fundamentally flawed. I will elucidate the genuine psychological dynamic between anima and animus and provide you with a clear roadmap for integrating this into your life. Because this isn't about acquiring a man. It's about you becoming so whole that the right men naturally gravitate toward you and the wrong men simply can't reach you. What follows will change not only how you relate to men, but how you relate to yourself. And that is true seduction, the kind no one can take away from you. Ready? Then let's begin. Now I need you to do something. Something simple, yet profound. Something few women realize activates a deep shift within the subconscious. If you are truly ready to stop contorting yourself to his desires and begin integrating your wholeness, if you grasp that what makes you dangerously alluring isn't performing femininity but embodying your complete self, I want you to type one word in the comments right now. Type whole. Just that one word. Whole. It may seem elementary, but Jung understood something modern psychology is only beginning to grasp. When you consciously declare something, you send a direct message to your subconscious. You initiate an integration process that commences the moment you state your intention. Typing whole in the comments isn't merely a comment. It's a commitment to yourself. It's you telling your subconscious, I choose to cease fragmenting myself for approval. I choose to stop suppressing my shadow, my intensity, my ambition. I choose to be whole. And here's what transpires when you do this. Your psyche begins to reorient itself around this new identity. You start noticing patterns that were previously imperceptible. You begin acting differently, not through sheer effort, but because something within you has fundamentally shifted. Observe the comments now. You'll see dozens, perhaps hundreds of women typing whole. These are the women who've understood. These are the women willing to stop betraying themselves. These are the women applying Jungian concepts in earnest, not as abstract theory, but as tangible transformation. And by typing whole, you join this collective. You connect with women undergoing the same integration process you are. Women who have realized true magnetism emanates from within, not from external stratagems. Women who are ceasing their pursuit of male validation as their primary source of worth and are instead cultivating an internal life so rich that a man's presence becomes an augmentation, not an imperative. This is a ritual few women are privy to, a psychological activation ritual rooted in Jung's discoveries regarding the potency of conscious declaration. When you affirm something publicly, even if it's merely a single word in the comments, you generate internal pressure to honor that assertion. You render yourself accountable. You ignite the process. So type it now, whole. And if you truly want to dive deep into this process, if you want to understand not just the theory but how to apply it in practice, write in Terra and I will teach you. Now I will reveal what truly transpires within the male psyche when he gazes upon you. Something Jung discovered, which will fundamentally alter your comprehension of his desire. Every man harbors within him an archetype of the feminine, known as the anima. It's an invisible blueprint, forged in childhood through his relationship with his mother and the women in his family. And here lies the crucial insight. When he looks at you, he isn't merely perceiving your true self. He is projecting this anima onto you. This projection is entirely unconscious. He is unaware he is doing it. If anything about your energy resonates with this internal image he carries, he experiences a magnetic attraction he cannot explain. He simply feels you are special, that you possess something he needs. And this is precisely where the majority of women are profoundly. They believe that once they've captured his attention, they must maintain that image. They feel compelled to perform. They must continue to be what they perceive he desires. And it is precisely at this juncture that everything unravels. Because what he truly wants, though he will never articulate it, is not for you to be a perfect embodiment of his anima. It is for you to be so real, so whole, so authentic, that the projection simply cannot sustain itself. When you endeavor to conform to his projection, you are perpetuating a fantasy. And fantasies, while enchanting initially, eventually become wearisome. They engender boredom because there is no genuine substance present. It is merely a mirror reflecting what he already possesses internally. However, when you are authentic, when you reveal your complexities, when you resist molding yourself to his expectations, the projection begins to fracture. The mature part of him starts to recognize this woman is real. This woman possesses depth. This woman is not attempting to be what I want. She simply is. And it is in this moment that genuine desire is born. Not the superficial desire predicated on projection, but the profound desire rooted in authentic recognition. Whole individuals are infinitely more captivating than fantasies. Most women do the opposite. They perceive what he seems to favor and escalate that behavior. They intensify it. And you know what transpires. He begins to withdraw, because unconsciously, he senses you are performing, and the healthy male psyche rejects this. Here is a stark truth. Men distrust women who try too hard. Deep within their subconscious, a woman who is perpetually accommodating, constantly available, is perceived as one who lacks a life of her own. And a woman without a life of her own is not seductive. She is unnerving. Unconsciously, he senses, if she needs me this desperately, what transpires when I inevitably fall short. Nobody desires to be the emotional epicenter of another's existence. Consequently, he withdraws. Not because you're too much, but because you're too little of yourself. Now, for the part that will invert everything. What genuinely activates his anima in a healthy manner is not your conforming to his desires. It is your being so complete that he is compelled to unearth his own completeness within himself. It is your possessing such a rich inner life, such clear purposes, such resolute boundaries, that he apprehends, this woman does not require me. This woman desires me, but she does not need me. When a man perceives that you do not need him, yet consciously chooses to be with him, his psyche relaxes. The pressure to be everything to you dissipates. And when he ceases to feel ensnared, he is finally capable of choosing you authentically. When you are self-possessed, when you have integrated your own enemies, the masculine principle within you, your autonomy, your purpose, you cease to seek these attributes in him. And when you cease to expect them, he begins to admire you. For men do not admire women who depend on them. Men admire women who are so formidable, so centered, that their presence is a gift, not a prerequisite. Thus, here lies the inaugural secret. Desist from attempting to embody what he desires. Cease performing the fantasy. Refrain from nourishing the projection of his anima. Because roles do not engender genuine desire. What cultivates authentic desire is your being so intrinsically you, so whole, that his projection has no purchase. And when he truly sees you, the resultant desire does not wane, for it is not predicated on fantasy, but on reality. And reality, when you are self-contained, is infinitely more alluring than any fantasy you could possibly enact. Now that you understand the anima, I will reveal something even more potent to you. Something that will compel you to reevaluate everything you've been indoctrinated with regarding femininity, desirability, and attractingness to a man. Jung discovered that we all possess a shadow. This is the facet of ourselves that we suppress, conceal, and have been taught to deem unacceptable. And for women, the shadow typically encompasses precisely those qualities you've been told were excessive. Your raw ambition, your unfiltered sexuality, your rage, your intensity, your sharp intellect, your healthy selfishness. You were instructed to temper these aspects, to be sweeter, more accommodating, more yielding. And you complied. You repressed. You concealed. In doing so, you cultivated what Jung termed the persona, and socially acceptable facade. You became the good girl, the understanding woman, the perfect partner. And herein lies the crux of the matter. This persona bores man to an excruciating degree. Because what he truly desires, what the male psyche unconsciously yearns for, is not your flawless persona. It is your integrated shadow. It is that very part of you that you were conditioned to hide. It is the woman who harbors her own desires, who is unafraid to voice dissent, who is not perpetually available, who leads a life so vibrant that he occasionally recedes into the background. But wait, you might be thinking, if I exhibit these traits, won't he perceive me as difficult? Complicated? Too much? The answer, my dear, is it depends. If you are merely performing the shadow, if you are feigning intensity to appear intriguing, he will discern it, and he will withdraw. However, if you have genuinely integrated your shadow, if you have ceased suppressing these parts of yourself and begun embracing them as integral components of your complete being, something entirely different transpires. You become magnetic because you are not striving to be dangerous. You simply have unfettered access to all facets of your being. Allow me to provide a concrete illustration. The majority of women, upon developing an affection for a man, stifle their personal ambitions. They elevate his life, his aspirations, his needs to the paramount position. They rationalize this as being a commendable partner. But do you comprehend what transpires within the male psyche when you engage in this behavior? He unconsciously loses respect for you, because what he genuinely craves, even if he would never consciously admit it, is a woman who possesses objectives as significant as his own. A woman who will on occasion assert, "No, I'm going to pursue my own endeavors today." A woman who possesses such an potent inner fire that he isn't the sole fuel source. And when you possess that, when you've integrated that part of your shadow that is ambitious, driven, self-focused, he doesn't feel bored. He feels challenged. And men crave challenge. Or consider anger. You were taught that feminine anger is unsightly, that you must always be calm, always understanding, always patient. So you swallow it. You smile when you're annoyed. You say it's fine when it's not. And do you know what he senses when you do that? Distrust. Because subconsciously, he knows you're lying. He knows there's something there you're concealing. But a woman who has integrated her shadow, she expresses anger healthily. She establishes boundaries. She says, "No, this doesn't work for me." And when she does that, do you know what happens? He respects her more, because he recognizes that you are not controllable. You won't swallow everything just to keep him. You have backbone. And men don't want women without backbone. They claim they do, but their subconscious rejects it. It's the same with sexuality. You were taught to be demure, to wait for him to initiate, not to be too direct about what you desire. And you comply. You suppress your raw sexuality and only allow the palatable version to surface. But do you know what is dangerously alluring to a man? A woman who has full access to her own sexuality, who isn't ashamed of her own desire, who isn't performing for him, but is genuinely connected to her own body, her own pleasure. When you integrate that part of your shadow, you stop having sex to please him and start having sex because you want to. And he feels that difference. He senses you aren't trying to be sexy for him. You are sexual for yourself. And that is incredibly magnetic. Here's the truth. Most women believe they must hide the intense, complicated, selfish, ambitious, angry, sexual parts of themselves. They think these aspects will scare men off. And yes, they will scare some men off. Immature men. Men who want a mother, not a partner. Men who need you to be small so they can feel big. But mature men? Psychologically developed men? They are drawn to precisely these qualities, because they subconsciously recognize that a woman who has integrated her shadow is a whole woman. And whole women do not create suffocating relationships. They create stimulating relationships. Now I will reveal something that will connect everything you have learned thus far. Something about the nature of male desire that Jung understood profoundly, and which explains why some relationships sustain their intensity while others languish and fade. The male psyche is drawn to mystery, but not the kind of mystery you might imagine. It's not about playing games, feigning disinterest, or delaying responses to messages. That sort of mystery is superficial, and he perceives it as such. The real mystery, the mystery that keeps a man psychologically invested, is entirely different. Jung discovered something fascinating. True mystery stems from psychological depth. It arises from a woman who possesses such a rich, complex, and constantly evolving inner life that he can never fully decipher her. Not because you are concealing your true self, but because you are perpetually becoming more. Allow me to elucidate what this signifies in practical terms. Most women, upon entering a relationship, cease to evolve. They discover a formula that works with their partner and then remain static. They equate stability with unchanging permanence. And do you know what happens within the male psyche when you cease to evolve? He completely deciphers you. And when he deciphers you completely, the mystery dies. And when the mystery dies, desire begins to wane alongside it. However, a woman who has integrated Jungian concepts understands something profound. You are not a fixed entity. You are a process. You are constantly integrating new facets of yourself, perpetually exploring new aspects of your psyche, continuously evolving. And when you live in this manner, When you are genuinely engaged in a process of individuation, the term Jung used to describe the journey of becoming your authentic self, you become inexhaustible. He looks at you today and perceives one facet. Tomorrow, he sees another, not because you are performing disparate personas, but because you are genuinely complex. You possess depth, and depth engenders natural mystery. Herein lies what he truly desires. Though he may never articulate it, he wants a woman who surprises him. Not with drama, not with emotional volatility, but with depth. He wants to uncover layers within you that he never knew existed. He desires conversations with you that prompt him to think differently. He wants to realize that, even after years together, there are still parts of you that he is discovering. And do you know how you cultivate this? You're not trying to create. You create it by being so committed to your own psychological growth, to your own individuation, that you naturally become more interesting over time, not less. Most women do the opposite. They stop reading, they stop exploring new interests, they stop challenging themselves. They make the relationship the center of their lives and expect that to be enough. And it might even work at first, but over time, he starts to feel like there's nothing left to discover. You've become too known, too predictable, and the masculine psyche gets bored with predictability. But there's another aspect of mystery that's even more powerful. Jung spoke about the tension between opposites. And this is where most women miss the mark. They try to be too consistent. They think they have to always be sweet, or always strong, or always vulnerable, or always confident. They pick one version of themselves and commit to it. But what actually creates psychological magnetism is the ability to hold opposites. To be vulnerable and strong. To be sweet and fierce. To be sensual and intellectual. To be independent and connected. When you can be these things, not at different times, but simultaneously, you create a psychological tension that is incredibly attractive, because he never quite knows which version of you is going to show up. Not because you're unstable, but because you're whole. You've integrated the opposites within yourself, and that creates a kind of mystery he can't solve. Because there's nothing to solve. You're simply complex. Let me give you an example. You can be deeply vulnerable with him, open your heart, show your insecurities, and the next day, be absolutely unwavering in pursuing your goals. He sees these two things and he's confused. How can she be so vulnerable and so strong at the same time? And that confusion isn't negative, it's fascination. Or you can be incredibly sweet and nurturing one moment, and the next, set a firm boundary when he crosses a line. He thinks, wait, she was so sweet, but now she's being unyielding. And again, this isn't inconsistency, it's wholeness. You have access to different parts of yourself depending on what the situation calls for. Most women are afraid of that complexity. They think they need to be one thing in order to be understood. But men don't want to understand you completely. They want to explore you infinitely. And you can only be explored infinitely when you are deep enough to have layers. Here's the brutal truth. If he understands you completely, if he can anticipate your every reaction, if he knows exactly how you'll respond to any given situation, the desire begins to die. Not because he doesn't love you, but because his psyche is no longer engaged. There's no more discovery, no more exploration. You've become too known. But when you are committed to your own individuation, when you are constantly integrating new parts of yourself, exploring your own psyche, developing new interests, challenging your own beliefs, you naturally become more mysterious. Because you yourself are discovering yourself. And if you are discovering yourself, how could he possibly decipher you completely? I will now unveil the most profound concept Jung discovered regarding relationships. The concept that unifies everything you've learned thus far and will completely transform not only how you relate to man, but how you relate to life itself. Jung termed this the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage. And it's not a marriage to another person. It is the internal union between the masculine and feminine within you. It's when you integrate your animus, the inner masculine principle, with your authentic feminine. And when you achieve this, you become something men rarely encounter, a complete woman. Throughout your life, you've been taught that you need a man to complete you, that he will provide security, direction, purpose, protection. And you've internalized this. You've projected your animus onto the men around you. You've expected them to give you what you ought to be cultivating within yourself. And you know what happens when you do this? You become dependent, emotionally, psychologically. You need his presence, his approval, his validation to feel whole. And that need? It kills his desire, because the masculine psyche isn't attracted to need. It's attracted to choice. When you integrate your animus, when you develop within yourself the qualities you were seeking in him: autonomy, direction, purpose, inner strength, something extraordinary occurs. You stop needing him. And when you stop needing him, you can finally truly choose him. And he feels this difference on the deepest level. He senses that you are with him not because you need him, but because you want him. Not because he fills a void, but because you choose to share your completeness with him. And this completely alters the relationship dynamic. Because here's what most women fail to grasp: men don't want to be needed. They want to be desired. When you need him, he feels trapped. There's pressure. He feels that walking away means destroying you. And no one wants to carry that burden. But when you desire him without needing him, when you are so complete that his presence is an addition rather than a necessity, he feels free. And paradoxically, when he feels free to leave, he wants to stay. Because there is no pressure. There is only mutual choice. The hieros gamos also signifies that you cease seeking externally what can only be found within. You stop waiting for him to provide security because you have cultivated internal security. You stop waiting for him to provide direction because you have your own goals. You stop waiting for him to make you feel valuable because you already know your worth. And when you reach this place, you become magnetic in a way that has nothing to do with appearance or techniques. You become magnetic because you are whole. And wholeness is rare. Wholeness is impossible to resist. Most women spend their lives waiting to find their other half. But Jung knew something few understand. You do not have another half. You are whole. And when you realize this, you stop seeking completeness in others and start offering completeness to others. And do you know what that creates? Healthy relationships. Because healthy relationships are not created by two halves completing each other. They are created by two wholes choosing to connect. When you are half seeking another half, you create dependency. When you are whole finding another whole, you create partnership. Let me give you practical examples. When you integrate your animus, it means that when you have a problem, your first instinct is not to call him expecting him to solve it. It is for you to think, analyze, decide. Then, if you wish, you share it with him. But you are not dumping the problem on his lap expecting salvation. It means you have your own goals that do not depend on his approval. You have a career, projects, dreams that are yours. It means you do not lose yourself in him. You continue to be you. You continue to have your friends, your interests, your alone time. And when you live like this, when you achieve this inner marriage, you emanate completeness. And men feel it. They sense that you are different, that you are not desperate, that you are not needy, that you do not need them to feel whole. And this does not push them away. It attracts them, because they realize that with you, they do not have to carry the burden of being your source of happiness. They can simply be themselves. And when a man can be himself, without the pressure of completing you, he can finally truly love you. So here is the ultimate revelation. You do not need a man. You never did. What you needed was within you all along. And when you realize this, when you integrate your animus and achieve your own inner hieros gamos, you cease seeking and begin attracting. You stop chasing and start choosing. You stop needing and begin desiring. And that is true seduction. Not techniques, not games, not performance, but completeness, wholeness, integration. A woman who is so complete within herself that a man's presence is a celebration, not a necessity. And when you become that woman, when you integrate all that you have learned, his anima, your own shadow, the mystery of your depth, and finally your inner marriage, you no longer need to wonder if he is interested, because you're so centered in yourself, so whole, so complete, that the right men naturally gravitate toward you. And the wrong man? They simply cannot reach you, because you are no longer available to men who need you to be half. You are only available to men who recognize that you are whole. And that is the freedom Jung was pointing toward. The freedom to be complete. The freedom to choose rather than need. The freedom to be dangerously seductive simply by being who you truly are. Whole.